Listen to the story brought to life with 11 Labs voice technology, The Rejected Rogue Queen. Written by Samantha Abbott.
Chapter 13. Vex. Making my way down the hall towards Aiden's room, I find myself stopping numerous times. Though Rain keeps urging me forward, I remind myself that I need to keep tight control of her. She might be okay with throwing caution to the wind, but I am not. Stopping in front of his door, I take a deep breath. The meeting had gone well, and I'm sure it would be finished tomorrow. But I still needed to stall, and as Beth had pointed out, I needed to make him feel as though he had control, or at least some sort of. So I would take her advice, but away from prying eyes. Knocking, I hold my head high. Trev answers with an annoyed look that melts as soon as he sees it's me. Vex, what are you doing here? I need to speak with Alpha Aiden, I say, brushing past him. Okay, he says, stepping aside. Please come in, not that you need to ask. No, I say, scanning the room before I turn back to him. I don't. Where is he? Trevor crosses his arms. He's busy at the moment. I was hoping you were coming to talk to me, though. My brows furr. Why? I ask. He sighs. Vex. About the other day. I think I shouldn't have. I'm sorry. The way I told you about Mom. I shouldn't have sprung it on you like that, and I do understand your position. I mean, after watching how things have been just with the Alpha meetings. I get it. You have to keep a tough exterior. But I need you to understand something. Just because you are a rogue and I am Pac doesn't change that you're my sister. I stiffen. That's not what I was expecting. True, it had been a shock, and it wasn't easy learning about Mom's death so abruptly. He did have a point. Seeing me after all this time thinking I had died and with Mom gone. I understand. I shouldn't have been so harsh either. I say, not sure what else to add, but knowing more needed to be said. Trevor nods, understanding my unspoken apology. We both stand for a moment in silence before he speaks again. I suppose you still need to speak with Aiden? Yes, alone. If you don't mind, I reply. He points towards the closed door at the far end of the room. He's in there, but I'd give him a minute. I'll be in my room across the hall, if you need anything. Giving him a nod as he shuts the door behind him, I march across the room. Like most of the rooms I'd assigned, they have the bedroom, a bathroom, and a small office area. So I'm sure with his shifter hearing, he already knows I'm here. I walk through the door. Oh, I blurt, realizing too late that this was not the office, but the bathroom. And standing in front of me is Aiden, completely naked. My first instinct should have been to turn around, but I find my feet glued to the floor. All of my other thoughts vanish as I watch him turn to face me. His wet hair beads over his chest, down the ridges of his abdomen, trailing down his perfect V-line before soaking. Aiden stares back at me with an intensity that takes my breath away. His eyes darken as I take in every detail of him from head to toe. His nostrils flare, and I can't help but notice the way his muscles ripple beneath the surface as he moves to grab a towel and wrap it around his waist. He speaks before I have time to react.
What are you doing here?
Not wanting him to see how affected this encounter is making me, I try not to let any emotion show on my face. Straightening, I step out of the doorway so he can move around me if needed. Taking a deep breath, I feel courage seep into my veins, allowing me to answer without faltering, to ask if you would join me on a run. He stops in the center of the room.
A run?
Yes. Unless you are busy, then I will go by myself. I say, moving towards the door. Goddess, I need to get out of this room. His scent is overwhelming. Grabbing the doorknob, I freeze as his hand slams over my head, keeping the door shut. I hold my breath as he leans closer, his hot breath against my neck.
I'm not busy. But I am curious. Why would you want me to go?
Taking a deep breath, I turn. His face is inches from mine. As a thank you. His brows raise.
For?
I want to back up, but I'm already as close as I can be to the door. So I try to keep my face and body neutral. For helping keep the peace during the meeting. He doesn't move, and for a moment we just stand there watching each other. His eyes trail down to my lips, making my stomach do somersaults. Goddess, please don't let him make a move. His gaze stays on me for a few seconds before he steps back, releasing the door.
Sure.
He says, walking across the room. Relief floods through me as I push off the door. I'll meet you outside in 15 minutes, I manage to say without sounding breathless, and leave the room without a backward glance. What am I doing? I scold myself as I pace just outside the castle steps. Running with him is such a bad idea, especially after the encounter we just had. Mentally shaking myself, I refocus on the task at hand. I needed to bring Aiden closer, and this was a good way to do it. I just had to remember not to let Rain get too ahead of herself, as she is becoming more and more smitten with him. She is an animal, even though she is smart, and I've almost always trusted her judgment. When it comes to the feelings of a mate bond, logic or reason are the first things to go, and could make us both look foolish by getting carried away in the moment, causing more trouble than it's worth. Then again, I want to gain his trust if possible, and there isn't a better way than running together. As a werewolf, running symbolizes unity with one another. It also gives an excuse to touch each other. Skin-on-skin contact has a calming effect for werewolves in general, part of the reason why even rogues form small units, or, in my case, a larger one. Though I'd not say it out loud, as most rogues deny the need for it, we are by all accounts a pack, just with different rules. I take a few deep breaths, trying to mentally prepare myself when Aiden steps outside, wearing nothing more than shorts, leaving his toned chest exposed. Though I'd not expected him to be fully clothed, I was not expecting my thoughts to immediately drift to the encounter in the bathroom, making me have to look away so he doesn't notice my reaction. My skin prickles as he moves closer. That's new. The few times he's touched me, I felt a sensation, but not just by him coming close.
Ready?
He asks, though I can hear amusement in his voice. My wolf stirs, wanting to be free, but I pause until she settles down. Yes, let's go. Walking towards the tree line, we are both fully aware of the random rogues watching. Though I know I am fine running. I glance at Aiden. Stay close. I'm sure I don't need to explain the issues some rogues may have with you running in our territory. He smirks.
Worried about me? And here I was, thinking you might be trying to off me.
I pause. Then why would you agree?
Maybe because I decided to trust you.
He says, meeting my gaze.
You've had plenty of opportunities to kill me if you wanted.
He leans closer.
But something tells me you don't want to.
I snort. Well, someone is full of themselves.
Maybe a little.
He chuckles.
But I have a feeling you don't hate me as much as you try to make it seem.
I roll my eyes, walking into the tree line, stripping off my clothes as I go. I can feel his eyes on me, but I focus on shifting and take off running, letting Rain guide my movements. Glancing to the side, I catch sight of Aiden. His tan wolf keeps up with ease as his muscular legs propel him forward. The breaks in the trees cast light through his fur, making him almost shimmer, and the white on the tips of his ears more pronounced. We run side by side, and I increase my pace as we wind our way through the trees, though I make sure we don't get separated or too far away from each other. I allow Rain more control as she falls back into step next to Aiden and nips his ear. He turns and looks at me, tongue lolling out as if he's laughing. I let out a low growl before turning quickly to the right. With a small growl, he picks up his speed, following close behind. I let out a howl that climbs through the trees, and Aiden does too, joining in as we continue running together, until we reach the edge of the woods, just past where we patrol. Rain increases her speed, pushing us into unknown territory, or at least unknown to most. Slowing our pace, we move into low, overhanging branches and thick thorn bushes. I can sense Aiden's mood shift, as he's unsure of what we are doing. Breaking through the last of the brush, a secluded lake comes into view. It's my personal place, tucked away behind tall evergreens. Water cascades down rocks around its edges, creating a small waterfall that obscures everything else but the tranquil pool below, making this the perfect place for relaxation or swimming on hot days without being disturbed. I skid to a halt next to the clear, still surface of the lake, looking back just in time to see Aiden shift into his human form, watching me intently. Without a second thought, I shift back into human form and dive in, breaking the surface in the middle of the pool. I sigh at the sensation of being submerged in the cool water. A loud splash breaks the silence as Aiden follows suit, disappearing under the surface. Looking around, the water is calm, with only the sounds of the woods. Aiden? I hear him resurface behind me, and I can feel his eyes on my back as he swims closer. Spinning around, I splash him and swim backward.
Trained in aquatic combat, too, I see.
He laughs. Well, you never know what you're going to run into, I say, moving to the edge of the pool. Best to be prepared for anything. He swims towards me in smooth strokes, getting closer and closer until our bodies are barely an inch apart. The water is cool against my skin, but the heat between us makes me feel like I'm on fire.
Prepared for anything?
He asks, his hands reaching up to grab onto the pool's edge behind me.
I think we should test that theory.
Before I can respond, he leans forward and presses his lips against mine. His tongue slips inside my mouth as one of his hands slides down my body to rest on my hip, while the other snakes around to tangle in my wet hair. Rain's howl vibrates through me, and before I can stop myself, I wrap my arms tightly around his neck. Our tongues dance together in a heated, sensual rhythm as I push up against him. He growls as his length rubs against my abdomen. I can feel every muscle in his body become tense with excitement, and I can't help but push harder, grinding my hips against him. The urgency between us only grows as his hands move from my hips to my back, pressing our bodies closer. I can feel the heat radiating off of him and hear the erratic beat of his heart escalating with each passing second. Curling one leg around his waist, I draw him closer still, until almost all space between us is gone, and I can feel every part of me humming in anticipation. The sensations that flood through me make it hard for me to think straight as I become more aroused. When something inside me clicks, Aiden has a mate. This isn't real. So I bite down hard on his bottom lip.
Fuck!
He growls, shoving away from me. Licking my lips, the metallic taste of blood fills my mouth. Rain's low growl rumbles through my body as I glare at Aiden. Though it's not directed at him, no. It's directed at myself and Rain. Turning, I grip the pool's edge for support. Our moment is broken and my heart drops as realization sets in. I knew better than to get too carried away. It was a mistake, one that I'd have had to pay for if it had gone too far.
What the hell was that for?
He snaps. I take a deep breath to steady myself before I look back at him with raised brows. Prepare for anything, I reply, without breaking eye contact. He glares at me for a few minutes before turning his back. letting out an angry growl as he swims towards the other side of the pool, leaving behind churned-up water.
He cast me down, left me to bleed. Tore my name from his history. But I walked through the dark, I carved my own path. Now they tremble when they hear me